and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. Whew, I'm out of breath, guys. Oh,
that was close.
Not this year! Not this year!
No more mistakes. We're going through 2020 unscathed.
We had a little technical hiccup, but we caught it.
But
right?
we got it.
Yeah, we caught it before we went
So you
live.
wouldn't miss the beginning of our
15
show.
seconds before we went live.
I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
that's right, guys. We're back for another wonderful, fun-filled year of the Red Moon Podcast.
Amen.
2020. Here we are. Wait, hold on.
It's not turned up.
It's not. You gotta wait. Yeah, now you can do it.
Well, you didn't have it ready.
There we go.
you can't do it without the sound being up.
That's
but
very
it's-
fitting too, considering the night that we're gonna have.
Oh, it's gonna
Yes.
be. Yeah, we have not given our full thoughts.
We dabbled at it last week,
Dabbled-oo.
Christmas,
As-
but we didn't.
As much as you can do on a recorded show before
Yeah,
seeing the
you
movie.
Mm-hmm.
We tried our best.
We tried, but we definitely have our own thoughts coming on Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
They cometh.
They do, and even our biggest topic of the show this week is going to be about whether or not the film should have been split into two movies.
I think every topic of the show this week is
It's all Star Wars, pretty much.
Yeah, even
in a sense.
It's all gonna turn into Star Wars.
in a sense.
I was just gonna say that.
So basically, we just killed off half our listeners who don't care.
Yeah.
about
if you
Star
don't like
Wars.
Star
I
Wars,
thi- I
hang up
think-
now.
Even if you don't care about Star Wars, we do have a few things coming up in the show that I think will still attract you.
Oh yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely. I think our movie review.
Well, the
this
Oh,
movie review
yeah,
is,
I forgot about
is a
that.
good
Oh, yeah.
one. And
It's
yeah,
good.
even our Vices segment, while may, like you said, lead into Star Wars, I think will still pertain to many
I was
people.
going to say it kind of encompasses it's Star Wars included, but a lot of different things that can be encompassed. The fact is does fandom alter your expectations?
Oh, damn, you just gave our unique.
I had to. I want to tease it.
he-
It's still coming up later
here's
in the
the thing.
show, but
I don't know about that yet because we haven't gotten there yet, but I do know fandom can be a driving force behind passion projects such as Eddie Murphy's passion project that Netflix was kind enough to greenlight when no one else would, much like Scorsese's film The Irishman. So let's
telling you.
get into the review of that because here is Dolemite is my name. To quote one of my favorite authors, Stephen King, talent is cheaper than table salt. What separates the talented individual from the successful one is a lot of hard work. Sheer determination and knowing what people want, even when they don't, will always win the day. If you can make it happen, do it. When Eddie Murphy wanted to make a biopic of Rudy Ray Moore, every studio told him no. Well, first they asked him who. Then they told him no. Murphy never gave up, and Netflix, who has made a reputation for giving long shots a chance, finally gave him that chance to tell the story of a legend who likewise never gave up, and made a fortune doing what he loved with and for the people he loved. Dolemite is my name, a passion project from Eddie Murphy. Stars Murphy as Rudy Ray Moore, a struggling black artist in 1970s Hollywood. Rudy, a man who knows he's got the charisma and talent to make it big, can't catch a break. No one will play his records, no one will put him on stage, until a homeless man who regularly comes into the record store Rudy works at stumbles in one day drunkenly spouting local jokes. Rudy recognizes that these types of jokes were an untapped market and created the persona Dolemite around them. Rudy's career in stand-up soon skyrockets, leading Rudy to try his hand at making his own blaxploitation film. No one would take a chance on the movie, and Rudy, through sheer determination and a little luck, fought until his film received a major release. The movie, titled Dolemite, would go on to redefine blaxploitation movies and be a massive hit. The film, directed by Craig Brewer, is a laugh riot from the starting scene to the film's end, but it also has a lot of heart and inspiration. Unlike many formulaic biopics that showcase celebrities' rise to stardom, Rudy doesn't become famous off the bat and find himself facing adversity through drug use or fallouts with loved ones. In fact, the entire conflict in the film is from Rudy having to face adversity and come out on top, making the film that much more uplifting, if not quite wholesome, or none at all. Yes, just like the blaxploitation films Rudy made, this film contains nudity, language, and a bit of raunch. But to not have these things would not do this story justice. Eddie Murphy as Rudy Ray Moore is a standout, giving one of his better performances, and the best he's given in years. The rest of the cast is rounded out nicely with familiar faces such as Craig Robinson, Michael Epps, and Keegan-Michael Key. The movie also shows off newcomer Divine Joy Randolph as Lady Reed, who likewise gives an exceptional performance. The film no one would take a chance on has paid off for both Netflix and Murphy, as both it and Murphy's performance has been praised critically and have already received Golden Globe love, with talk of an Oscar push for Murphy. While the film isn't the best biopic I've seen, it is something different and unique in telling a significant piece of film history that would otherwise never be looked at by most people. Fusing the flair of 70s blaxploitation movie making with heart and a true story of perseverance and a little bit of ego, and we have a hilarious feel-good biopic from a man who's been out of the spotlight for quite a while. I give Dolemite Is My Name 3 out of 4 stars.
That's right, 3 out of 4 stars for Dolemite Is My Name. And I ain't gonna lie, this movie caught me off guard completely.
Really?
It is very good.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Okay.
And and like Keith said, it's not just like hilarious for hilarious namesake. It's good as well. It's just a good, funny, different take on an autobiography.
I mean, especially for Eddie Murphy, because Eddie Murphy has made a lot of good comedies, but none of his comedies have been very like dramatic as far as having roles that like it's like they're fun to watch, and yeah, they do tend to have more, like some type of message, and so, but they're not that, as far as emotion and that goes. Whereas this one actually was, it is a biopic, and no, it's not as emotional as many I've seen. It still is more than just, we're just going to humorously show the story of Rudy. Like, it actually genuinely shows his story while being funny.
Yeah, and it's even like just, there's certain just aspects that just hit on, and throughout the whole movie, there's his auntie is one in particular. A lot of character acting in this that just sets the movie above others in this genre. And it's like there's so many that have their own quirks that make them individual characters that are worth paying attention to.
Yeah.
Even
but are
the
believable.
but are believable,
I see his auntie, and I'm like, even though, yes, that is definitely a quirky character and definitely character acting, it's still someone who I'm like, I can easily see that person. Yes.
And not only that, but I also love, like, even there's white filmmakers in the movie that they take jabs at.
Yes.
But it's like, and they come at them with, like, their... from UCLA and all their knowledge and whatnot.
That was when Craig Robinson's like, who are these white boys? I ain't taking orders from them. He's like, you're the caterer. You just shut up and feed them.
And one important person that you forgot to mention.
I did. I can't believe I forgot.
Who is another brilliant actor. And honestly,
we
haven't seen him in longer time than we've seen Eddie Murphy.
I know.
And that's Wesley Snipes.
Since like Blade 3.
Yeah.
That was like after that, his career went...
Well,
he
got into some tax issues.
Yeah.
So he's hoping to make up for those.
He was hilarious. He was great.
His deadpan nature in this film, he plays a film director in the movie.
Well, he plays a character who was a blaxploitation star.
Yes.
And they were trying to get him to star in the movie, and they got him to do it by saying
Being
he can also direct.
Yeah.
Because I think it's one of the only directing credits he actually has is this movie.
See, actually, I'm reading on Wiki, I'm reading the plot of the actual movie, Dolemite.
Oh, it's
and
hilarious.
I want to see this movie.
You want to see the real film.
I want to see the real movie.
That it's based on.
The real movie, I've watched clips on YouTube because I had to, and they show some clips during the credits at the end because it's kind of like Disaster Artist where they shows them filming some of the scenes,
and that's what kind of makes me interested in seeing this film.
Yes,
I've seen it pop up, on my advertisements on Netflix. And I was like, man, Eddie Murphy in a Netflix movie? Hell no.
Yeah.
And then
why
so
not?
I
You're willing to watch
it.
Adam Sandler.
I guess. So now, I want
but
to see
yeah,
it,
they're spot on. Like, in fact, the shot in the movie, there's a scene of he's filming the Dolemite movie.
Yeah.
And he's standing in the driveway, and this guy who's an FBI agent comes up, is like, FBI, we're going to check your trunk and all that. And they filmed that shot in front of the same house that they shot. Yes, so they actually recreated that shot at the exact same house that it was made for the original Dolemite movie.
That's awesome.
Shot for shot, if you look at the original movie and this movie, they're like exact. And I'm like, that's so awesome that they did that.
That's great that they
did
that.
I was gonna say, I was gonna bring up the exact same thing where it's cool at the end when they show you all the shots from the film that they use. Another great film or scene in the movie that is it's so hilarious because of how serious they make it, but at the same time how it shows you just kind of how they stumble upon some of these ideas when they were making the original Dolemite, and it's a sex scene.
Yes.
It's this ridiculous, and they're sitting there talking about how it has to be sexual and sensual,
Yeah.
and then out of nowhere they're just kind of like, well, why don't we make it funny? Like, why don't we make a comedic sex scene? You know,
Yeah.
nobody ever sees that, and they go in with it, and then it goes from like literally like this woman sits on Eddie Murphy,
straddling Eddie Murphy.
and she's straddling him, and then all of a sudden it's just like one by one you take it as like. It's just this awkward, like, oh yeah,
The picture
oh,
frames start
and
moving,
then
the
picture frames
chandelier
start
drops
moving.
Oh, okay.
And it's hilarious.
And it's
like,
really in the well, it's not in the original Dolemite movie. It was actually in
Right.
the sequel. They said they used scenes from some of the other movies because they
wanted to
to
combine.
they
them
wanted to
yeah,
encompass
to
the-
encompass everything.
yeah, they
that
wanted
Dolemite
people to
had
be able to
done.
see
Yeah.
and
So I hadn't got that
recognize.
far to realize
Yeah.
that there was a sequel yet. So
Oh, there's
see?
3.
the Human Tornado
Yes,
and
Dolomite Returns, I believe, or something along those
That's
lines.
the second one, I believe.
No,
I think-
Human Tornado's the
Return
second
of
one.
Dolemite,
Oh.
and
Return
then
of
there's
Dolemite is
a
the
quasi
next
sequel
one.
called Shaolin Dolemite.
I did not know about that one. So
Shaolin Dolemite, and he plays Monk Rudy. RUDEE.
that's awesome. I will have to look into that
These-
one.
That was
these
actually
all-
released in 1999.
The Return of Dolemite was 2002. Mm-hmm.
Holy
Wow.
crap!
Yeah.
And he's in all of them. Rudy Ray Moore.
Yes.
No.
Says it, yeah.
Well,
When
he's
did he, has he
dead.
died?
He's dead now. Yes, he made Return of Dolemite in 2002, shortly before I think his death. So,
Yeah.
Oh wow!
but yeah, that was pretty much his whole career was Dolemite.
Which, I mean, if the fans loved it, and
well,
plus
and that's
it's
what
like
what I loved about the end of the movie. And not to try to spoil anything, but there is like a nice heartwarming moment where
He
you
died
could
in 08.
where you could tell that to him it wasn't about like the fame and glory like it was for Wesley Snipes' character. For him, it was about being able to share something with all the people in his community and with the people of a similar type of community.
Mhm.
One of my favorite lines was when the company that was funding his movies like, well, you have to remember you're making a movie for not just the same people you know in these 5 blocks. And he's like, well, I guarantee you in every city across America, they have those same 5 blocks.
Yes.
And I was like, I
Yes.
love that line because
Well-
it goes to show you that you can how out of touch Hollywood can be sometimes because there are, the everyday folk that they tend to forget about.
Well, and we've had that argument within the last recent decade that we
Yes.
just celebrated recently. It's like in film history. It's like we have gone back and looked at several times where Hollywood's lost its touch because it hasn't tapped into that heartbeat of the culture.
Yes.
And that is exactly what he
That
in
he
this
was onto.
movie is onto.
And it was shredded critically. Critics hated it, but it went on to be a massive success.
Yep.
And people didn't understand it because they really honestly didn't understand it was supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Like he made something, and there's another line where they're asking, I was like, I thought this was supposed to be like Shaft. Is it supposed to be funny? He's like, well, yeah. Can't you hear them laughing? Obviously, they know something you don't.
Yes. But there were so many brilliant parts in this film where you can tell it's definitely a hats off to the Dolemite character and Rudy Ray Moore.
Yes.
But at the same time, it also just showcases. I mean, I remember it had to have been about 10 years ago that a film came out called Black Dynamite, which was also a mockery
Yes,
of
it was supposed to be kind
black
of a spoof of
exploitation.
blaxploitation.
films. And that's the funny thing is I loved that movie when it came out. It was
Yes.
funny. It was hilarious. And yet at the same time, I was kind of thinking it was a different take on what we had seen before. When really it's like now this one comes out and it does an even better job because it's actually about real history.
Well, it's rooted in
And- yeah. And so I loved Dolemite Is My Name. I think it's a fantastic film, especially considering that it's out on Netflix and you can check it out if you've got a subscription.
It's gotten a
It's
Golden
gotten
Globe nom.
noms.
He did. Eddie Murphy did too. I believe he got a
for a best actor.
yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
And-
I know they said that the producers were going to put his name in for. I don't think he'll get this nomination, but they did say they were going to put his name in for an Oscar nom. That just depends. I mean, he was good, but I don't know if he's that good. So we'll see.
It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can necessarily say, if
It depends on who else. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say,
Who
well,
else
and I
is
don't
in
know.
that category.
True, but I also don't know if you can really. I don't know. It's going to be one of those things where I don't know if you can call a Netflix movie a hidden gem because it has been popular.
Yeah.
And it has received critical acclaim, but at the same time, it's like if you've not, watched it, or if you have just kind of skimmed through it and said, "I'll pass it up," by far, way better than any Adam Sandler movie on there
On Netflix.
No, I mean, and definitely worth checking
Netflix
out.
has had its fair share of really good movies.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's just kind of
especially in the last part of the year.
Eddie Murphy in recent years has been one of those names
Terrible.
where it's like, okay, that's daddy daycare. Like I'm not gonna watch that. I'm not. I've kind of lost faith in him as an actor. So
Norbit?
to hear, to hear his name attached to something that's actually making positive waves, like I want to see it now. So
It does. It is surprising, in which they did the Critics' Choice Awards have announced that he's going to receive a Lifetime Achievement Award. So
Yes.
that's really cool. And I mean, he does deserve it. I mean, yes, the later part of his career, not so much, but he has done.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those. He's one of those actors where you look at the stuff he did from SNL and then through the '90s,
Yes.
and it's kind of like an Adam Sandler, where it's like
Adam Sandler, Mike Myers.
Adam Sandler
you
has
know.
had a lot more misses in terms of his later half of his
I
career.
think he's also
He's
made
only-
more content though.
Yeah.
Well, he's made more
but
content,
he's only
but
made three movies that are really
decent.
that show his acting
Yeah.
prowess.
yeah. Well,
Like, I mean, Punch Drunk Love is fantastic.
I mean,
You
even
didn't like that
some of
one?
his comedies, though. I'd say even like Wedding Singer,
Oh,
Wedding
that's
early
Singer's-
days.
Yeah, Wedding
I mean,
Singer's
you
good.
even think about big,
and we're hoping to go see Uncut Gems
Yeah,
pretty
that's-
soon, and that's another one that looks to me like this is one of those movies where he showed up to act, and I want
Wouldn't
to
that
see
be
it.
crazy though if you had like Adam Sandler and Eddie Murphy too, like two comebacks, like
Yeah.
vying for an
Yes.
Oscar like that? That is.
Wow.
But that's my thing. Is it's like I think he's had a lot of misses. He's had more content.
Yeah.
But I also think too with Adam Sandler, it's like with each movie he makes, he still makes a crap ton of money
Oh yeah.
because he brings in the
Yeah.
paycheck, and ultimately it's like there are fans of his that like his stuff no matter what.
Yes.
But what I love about Eddie Murphy is it's like this being a passion project. This was something for him to come back on the scene and actually, use as a way to get back into the public eye, but also as a way to say, "Hey, I've
it's
always
also-
had it."
It's a way to pay tribute to another great filmmaker of
Right,
their
yeah.
time, and that's anytime you have a biopic that actually does justice for the person that it's about.
Yes.
I think that's a good thing. Like some of the Steve Jobs movies, I don't think really did him justice.
I agree.
And that's why, and so anything like this, even though it is someone who kind of took advantage of that, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I had never heard of what is it
Black
called?
exploitation.
Blaxploitation.
Yeah, Shaft is.
That's just
Quentin Tarantino uses blaxploitation style in a lot of his
I know.
movies.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that, but I just I never heard it called that. It's really
Yeah.
weird. So is machete? Is that a mexploitation?
I guess you could
kind
say
of.
that.
Yeah.
You could say
I was
that.
just wondering.
I don't know if there's an actual term.
I don't know
but
if there's
why
a
not,
term
you
for it,
know?
but the
I just made it.
blaxploitation is
Mexploitation.
a legitimate like film genre.
Well,
Okay.
you know
Yeah.
what? If there isn't, we're claiming it here on the Red Moon Podcast.
Yeah.
We're calling mexploitation an actual term.
Yeah.
So
I think it's. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure it's a term that like more of the Hollywood bigwigs kind of came up with,
Yeah.
and then the black community was like, "No, we're just
Yeah.
going to take it and own it."
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah.
But it
I'll
is
be- I'm
definitely
definitely sure to check it out.
I would say Dolemite is my name is definitely worth checking out, and then after that, go watch the other Dolemite movies because I guarantee you.
It sounds like
They're
they're pretty good based on what the plots that I was
Well,
reading.
it sounds like they're lake movies for us.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna add
Yeah.
those to our collection.
Well, it's
and
kind of
just-
funny. Even the Dolomite movie, the plot sounded like The Count of Monte Cristo. It's like a guy is set up and he's in jail for 20 years and
Yes.
he gets out to go get his revenge. And I'm like, that's Edmond Dantes. That's awesome.
Except
So
in the
everybody
hood.
loves a story like that.
Except you got a
It's
Negro
Edmond Dantes.
But yeah, it was a good movie. Lots of good performances. Joy Divine, I forget her last name. I actually was really impressed with because this, I think, probably one of the first, definitely the first bigger movie she's been in. And I was like, oh,
She's
yeah.
excellent in this. I'm telling you, the side cast of characters, apart from even the main ones you named, Mike Epps and Keegan Michael Key,
Yeah.
and even Wesley Snipes making
Wesley
his comeback.
Snipes
Yeah.
is perfect.
Wesley Snipes is fantastic, but even the I forget his name from the other show, Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, the black character.
yeah. I can't.
I mean,
can't
that's
think
the
of
other
his
thing.
name.
To be honest with you, and I know a lot of people.
I've never seen that, so I don't know. I mean, I know Mike Epps and Craig
it's a funny
Robinson.
show,
I
but-
just don't know.
But
what that
he,
one
It's a
is.
good show.
He plays a fantastic
Yeah.
role in this, but the whole black cast, just the fact that the majority of the movie is black, it's just like it's
Okay, and now I know who you're talking
You
about.
know-
You're talking about the
kind of the bar,
guy
or
that
not
worked
the
at the
bartender, the record
player
store.
with-
Yes,
Yes. Okay. No, what I liked too was not only was it a great cast and great performances, but it was also like you don't tend to see that like with Friday and Barbershop, it had the same black comedians in it.
Right.
This one actually had a kind of a different variety
Mike
of
Epps.
actors that yeah,
He's in both of
yeah,
them.
he is. in both of them. Mike Epps is in everything.
Yeah.
but I just like the fact that you actually got to see like a kind of a variety of different actors in it
Well, I
that
was
you
gonna say,
typically see.
right. And you think about like Friday, and it's like it's not a black exploitation.
No,
film,
no.
But that and like Barbershop, they cater to like the black community, but in more stereotypical fashion. Which it's like they praise it, but yet at the same time, what I love about this is you see so many varied black characters, but from different backgrounds with different, types
different
of
personalities.
different
Yeah.
personalities, different characteristics, and it's like, yeah, you're not watching just stereotypical black, actors, and I
Yeah.
like the fact that
It was
like
very, it was
Eddie
diverse
Murphy-
in the best way possible. Yeah.
Yes, it was not just diverse in terms of skin color, but in terms of personality of the actors, and I like that. I mean, I think it's fantastic, and I think
Well,
it
just
sends
made it
the
feel,
right message.
made it feel real. Like, I mean, I
Yes.
love Barbershop and Friday. I think they're hilarious, but I never think those movies like are realistic. Like, that's like I don't see. I mean, to an extent, yes, I see them hanging out in the barbershop talking like that, but at the same time, some of the stuff
Who
they
you
get
saying
into.
they?
Well,
Yeah.
anybody, any
What do you
group,
mean, they?
any
do you
group,
mean they?
any group of men would be hanging out in a barbershop. I get it. I would
No,
love to
I
if
know.
barbershops were still a thing, but they are,
They
but
are.
not
Just-
in that sense.
Yeah.
It just depends. You got to go
Yeah.
to the right
Yeah.
ones. You
Yeah.
got to go to the right ones.
But yeah, I mean, I just love the fact that this movie felt so real.
Yeah, no, I agree, and definitely worth checking out. Dolemite is my name, easily worth a watch on Netflix. Go check it out. So now we're time.
Whoa, what are we
time to turn the wheel to another topic.
Okay.
I don't know what was going on.
I don't know.
I think he had a
Uh,
seizure.
It's a new year, man. You
Did you
don't
have
know
a
what's
stroke just
coming.
now?
Who knows? Actually, fun fact, real quick, before
Yeah.
we get to our headline,
Get it.
we've not been live for a full year yet. We're still a couple months away from that.
True.
So we went live on March 7th last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So technically, it's a new year on the calendar,
but not a full year.
but not a full year for us on the Red Moon podcast.
Wow. Okay.
Well, just live now, recording wise.
Yeah.
I mean,
Recording wise, we're still about a month away
yeah.
because we started, I
close.
think, February. We started right after the Oscars in 2015.
Mhm.
Was our first episode ever.
We've been
So
doing
we've
this show
been going
for
this for
almost half
4
a decade.
years.
That's pretty good.
Wow. When you say it like that,
Wow.
that really sinks
Yeah.
in.
2015 to 2020.
Whew,
Just saying.
Yeah.
I've
this'll
only been in
be-
it for
Three
three
years.
3 years.
Yeah.
You've been in it for
Okay.
3 years.
Dang, man, it goes by fast.
It does.
It doesn't. It really. It feels like almost yesterday we were just going to Indiana to record all this
Yeah,
It
Man.
is. It's crazy.
in a real studio.
in a real studio
Hey,
With-
we
no,
got our
we got
sound
it.
booth
It's
over there.
nice.
with genuine
It's
mics.
nice.
With genuine mics.
All right. Oh yeah.
You would have never thought in 5 years that this would have happened.
Yeah. I mean, I hope
Yeah.
this. I hope we've made enough of an advance. If you see everything around you,
Yeah.
it's like I would hope that everybody can kind of see it and
Yeah.
see that it's like we've.
You know we're serious.
Yeah, we're serious and
That's
we're
right.
trying to. We've got some more projects in line. We'll talk about that maybe in our email segment at the end of the show.
Okay. All right.
So let's move on to our headline topic of this week,
Please.
which we promised we'd talk more about it. So we wanted to bring up the topic that a lot of people have been wondering about, which is what are our opinions on Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, primarily, I wanted to focus on the length of Rise of Skywalker and the plot development throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think it should have been split up into 2 films?
Well, part of that comes from the fact that we've read that they had they had tried to talk
writer
Lucasfilm,
himself.
Yeah, Chris
into maybe splitting it, of course, and they're like, well, no, because that doesn't fit the whole episode, like trilogy episode type design. But I think Chris Terrio had good reason for wanting it to be split into 2 films.
I think after we've seen the movie, I think we've all seen it 3 times. Or
No, Brandon's seen it
I've
twice.
only seen it twice.
Me and
Twice.
Sean have
Keith and I have
seen
seen
it
it 3
3
times.
already.
And yeah, I think I definitely can say by the 3rd viewing of it, the first viewing, and this will even come up in our weekly segment later, but the first viewing is just excitement for the last Star Wars movie.
Well, just
And
also
you
happy that
kinda-
it didn't stink.
Right, it didn't suck. And you kind of, I think you miss a lot of the details, or at least some of the things that we would normally be a little bit critical of because of just your excitement.
Yeah.
And then you see it second and third time, and you start to notice some things. Like Brandon came out of the movie, he's like, I didn't notice it the first time, but this time I noticed a couple things I didn't like.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we can talk about that. But I mean, I can see how, there's a lot left out of this film to
Yeah.
me. And there's some scenes that show that maybe there were more scenes filmed that they didn't use, or that it's just poor,
I was gonna say for me,
poor writing. But
poor writing. Oh, well, I
Yeah.
think more so for me it was that it just stuck out more.
Yeah.
I think in the second viewing I had a problem with it just sticking out more. The issues that I had that I didn't have with it coming out the first time
right,
was that expectation of I was already on the edge of my seat. The fact that the ending happened and I was like, okay, I'm
Not-
actually relieved
not a bad ending.
that they
yeah.
wrapped up not only this film and the last trilogy, but the saga in a decent way.
Yeah.
And so because of that, because of that reprieve, I was just like, whew, all right, we can walk away happy.
Yeah.
But then after seeing it the second time around, I started to kind of notice that the pacing issues were still an issue for me. And there were a couple pivotal moments that still stuck out to me, almost in a way that I felt like I could agree with the writer in that he wanted to create a second film. And I think, honestly, that was when I started to kind of go along with the idea. I was like, even though that sounds like really bad because it's like, well, no, and he even says Lucas had it in his mind that there were 3 trilogies.
Yeah.
There were 9 films.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, but technically if you all would have stuck to what Lucas wanted, you would have never done this last trilogy the way you did it.
Yeah.
So you can't fall back on that.
Yeah.
And 2, how awesome would it have been if you had tricked everybody almost like in a less fantastic way that The Hobbit did when it announced it was not 2 but 3 films.
Yeah.
Because most everybody at that point was like, no, it could still be 2 films. We don't need a third.
I mean, most people
Right.
thought one movie would have
would have been
sufficed.
enough.
Yeah,
So.
Right. But then it's like for you to fall back on this one and say how cool and mind blowing would it have been to be like, oh, episode 9, actually episode 10 is what we're ending on, and it takes 4 movies because really there's one in there that
Doesn't belong.
doesn't matter.
One of these
I
things,
think-
not like the
I think
others.
you hit the nail on the head with that point there, and
Yeah.
I mentioned it in my review.
Yeah.
Honestly, they wouldn't have need to split episode 9 into 2 movies at all anyway.
Exactly.
Had they had first of all planned out the 3 films from the start and not had the thing with Ryan Johnson.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fact that each movie was like, okay, here's the writer, here's the director, they'll each make their own film, and there wasn't just this concise, okay, here's what the story's going to be about across all 3 movies,
Yeah.
is where the flaw falls for this entire trilogy.
Right. No, I absolutely agree. And yet at the same time, they're going to deny that. They're all
Oh,
denying
well,
it.
of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is fine. They can do that to save
Well,
face and save face in the
Kathleen
public.
Kennedy
and to
said,
Ryan
there was a
Johnson.
plan from the very beginning. There was always a plan from
No.
the beginning. No, there wasn't.
No. And we've had multiple sources on the front saying that, no, that's not true.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry, but
previous writers have
Exactly.
said, Colin Trevorrow has come out and recently and said, like, I saw the, script for The Last Jedi, and I told him, you're going to have to, I can't follow this. Like, I can't do this. And then the next thing you know, he's no longer, set up to
Well,
do another movie. So,
Even that, I know both. And I mean, JJ may have had that intention when he first made Force Awakens, but both him and Kathleen Kennedy had said Palpatine had always been planned on coming back. And Colin Trevorrow said, well, when I was making the 9th movie, I never had an intention of bringing him back. So it's like
Right then
somebody,
and there.
Yeah.
somebody's not telling the truth. And
Right.
like I said, maybe JJ, when he first made Force Awakens, had that idea,
it's just
but it was
mismanagement.
never the plan over the entire
It's-
3 course.
It comes down to
films.
Yeah.
mismanagement, and I
Mhm.
think if they really wanted to do fans right, looking back, hindsight's 2020. So the fact is looking back, it would have been cool. I think more people would have rolled their eyes because everybody was going in with their cheeks clenched for an episode 9 and how it was going to wrap up the saga.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, I think a lot of people were still thinking, while this movie is going to be bad, if it does, now that everybody's seen it and they said, oh, it actually kind of met or exceeded our expectations from a fan standpoint, then I think you would have people like we are saying, I could have done one more.
Yeah.
I could have done one more if I knew this would have been fleshed out better.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
And
Yeah.
that to me is the key takeaway is if we would have known going in what this film was, I could have done with an episode 9 and an episode 10.
Yeah.
Even if it would have meant just instead of 2 years apart, a year apart.
Mhm.
I would have done the whole, we'll stick with not doing an in-between film.
Yeah.
We'll do episode 9 this year, like it came out, and then episode 10 next year for the full final wrap.
Yeah.
And I think if I could have been guaranteed that everything would have culminated in a perfect end, then I would have been okay with
But
it.
again, we wouldn't have needed that guarantee if
the
Last Jedi hadn't flubbed
Yeah,
up.
but
Because, I
Yeah,
mean, you got to be honest. The first 35 minutes of Rise of Skywalker are
It's
walking.
scary.
Yeah, well, it's like walking back everything
Yes.
that Ryan Johnson did, and then so many other points throughout the rest of the film. Because the first half hour or so is where your pacing is really jittery.
Yes.
Like it's really fast, and even some of the cuts aren't as I noticed a couple of scenes like in Star Wars. Every time they cut to another
You get a
scene,
fade.
they do that cool,
The-
that
the
fade
little wipes.
where the
Swipes,
wipes, and
yeah.
they
None
didn't
of
do
those.
that. Like
None of
in many
those.
scenes, they just ditched that, and I was like, man, that's Star Wars. That's
Yeah.
part
Yes.
of Star Wars, and
Well,
you know,
hell,
even Last Jedi had that.
Well, actually, and even watching back the new trilogy,
Yeah.
Episode 3, I'm telling you, in the first it is like 20, 30 minutes. There's a lot of cuts
Yeah.
at the beginning, and
Yeah.
they are I mean, you're probably seeing like
Oh,
5
yeah.
or 6 of those wipes
Yeah.
within the matter of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like it's a little jarring, but at the same time, it's Star Wars.
Yeah. It's
And
it's
I
like a
agree.
comic
When I
book
didn't,
kind of thing.
I
It's
actually
awesome.
noticed that the first time through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of threw me off because I'm like, this just feels like a normal movie.
Yeah,
they were
Like,
just
this is not
jumping from scene to scene rather than
And it
having
was
those
just like, yeah, we're
transitions.
trying to get through this.
right.
We got to give you Palpatine. We got to get it, off to a good start. But once it settles in, I did feel like the pacing got better, and I felt like the movie became Star Wars after
Yes.
about the first 30 minutes or so. But the first 30 minutes could have been much better had they not had to make up for, a lot of the stuff from the last film. And
Right.
I never liked the fact that they were getting 3 different directors to do 3 different movies. Now, I'm glad JJ came back for the last movie, but to me, I would have said after The Force Awakens after I saw the success and I saw the response from fans, I would have said, we want you to go ahead and just do the other 2 movies. I want you to write them and direct them and keep
Well,
them
they
in
originally
sync.
did. JJ was the one.
I know he did. I know,
Yeah.
but it's like I would have pressed and pressed and pressed. I would have paid him more, whatever you had to do. But when you've got 3 different directors doing 3 different versions of their own story, that's what you get with Rian Johnson. And it made sense to bring back JJ to bring things back to the same feel as The Force Awakens. And I think it does. I think there's so many things. I think we've even mentioned it. You could almost skip The Last Jedi and
Yeah.
and still be from those 2 movies, the first and the third, or 7th and the 9th, you'd be able to coherently make out a story.
Yes.
Without the Last Jedi ever
True.
being there.
No, that is true.
And that's
there's very
that's the sad
few-
thing about it.
because there's so
It's a
many
wasted
times
movie.
that this movie walks back the last one.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are so many times where, other than like 1 or 2 crucial pivotal points
Yeah.
in the last film, you really could.
and we applaud them too, though.
Right.
Because they're
Of course we
brilliantly
do.
done, and they're snarky, very snarky.
They are.
Like
which even
it's
though
almost like he
it's
was being a
funny,
smart aleck when he did it.
It is. It's funny,
Yeah.
but it's like that's
He
why
was
I think
cheeky.
that's why I think it's funny that they're all denying it.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I think it's.
Oh, they all
absolutely
said, "Oh, we
ridiculous.
were not intending to walk anything back, and
We're just concluding upon what was
Yeah,
created." in
yeah.
that show. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, but the moment I'm not
Yeah.
gonna spoil anything.
Well, it's been out for 2 weeks
It's
now.
been
Come
out
on.
2 weeks. All the
Yeah.
fans have seen it.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, yes. The fact that he catches the lightsaber and then
Yes.
2 sentences later says, "I was wrong."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally
Yeah.
just said the entire plot point of his entire character development in the last film
Was meaningless.
Was done.
Yeah.
It was meaningless.
Yeah.
And it was to be looked over.
Well, even the comment he makes about throwing the saber, he's like, a Jedi's
Yeah.
weapon deserves more respect
Exactly.
than that. And I'm like, you're darn right it does. And,
Yeah.
and you threw it in the ocean in the last movie. Like
Yes.
it's just that was stupid.
Well, and I think those are the loving moments, and that was the other thing that I noticed too was during the first viewing, had so many instances where I was feeling the fan
You were
love,
excited,
and I was excited because there were so many harkening back to the original trilogy and all of the things. Even the new trilogy, there were so many moments.
everything, even like because there's Easter eggs for even the shows. Like I mean, this one
Yes.
movie did try to encompass everything that has been released under the Star Wars.
And
brand.
that right there, I think, is the crucial point. That's the crucial takeaway. This one movie was trying to encompass everything that the
Yeah,
Star Wars
yeah.
saga has built to.
When really the
And-
entire trilogy should have done that.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if they would have had I think a single solitary person, like Kathleen Kennedy was supposed to do, and building this trilogy for the fans, for Star Wars, not just try to put their own Disney stamp on
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
because Lucas was no longer a part of it. I think we would have had a much different trilogy, and we wouldn't need
Yeah.
a 10th film.
Yeah.
But knowing what we know now, it would have been nice to have
It's
seen
kind
the
of like
split into
it
two.
should have been 2 films, the 8th and the 9th.
Yes.
and we'd be fine.
Yep, absolutely. And I think too, we're gonna get an extended version, and I think we're gonna.
You think we
see-
will?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think it's coming for not just this one. I think we're gonna get enhanced versions.
That's what I was
Not
wondering.
not in the Lucas
If this
way.
movie, since it hasn't, I mean, it's done well. It's on track for $1 billion. But do you think that they'll do a re-release with extended cut in theaters to try to boost that that number up to.
Now that I don't
think
know.
so.
You don't think they'll do that?
I
It's just going to be a DVD or a Blu-ray release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the only reason like you saw Endgame get something like that was because they knew they were just shy
Barely.
of,
Yeah.
and so they gave it that push.
This
to
ain't
cross
nowhere
that
near
line.
close.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to
Yeah.
get close enough for them to be
Nowhere
like, yeah,
near.
we need to.
Yeah.
Well, and I
push it,
think
so-
it's not really other than the new trilogy coming out in 3D and the other ones being re-released
Yeah.
in different home video versions.
Yeah.
You've never really seen Star Wars until it's had an extended time out of the theater be re-released. So I really
Only when Lucas was wanting a new gimmick. I mean, he had the 90
right, yeah.
releases, and then you
Yeah.
had the 3D releases, which
but
once
even then,
Disney
but
bought
even
it,
then, those
dropped.
those
Yeah,
had
yeah.
several time. That
Yeah.
was a long time.
Yeah, it
in
still
between
had
each
in
one.
between them. Yeah.
And so I really think for this one, you're going to see this one kind of be put to bed. It'll go out of theaters. It'll come out on home video, and then I think you'll see either extensive behind the scenes, or I could see them going back and saying, "Well, here's more detail in The Force Awakens, even Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker."
See, I don't feel like, and they might, but I just because they never like no other Star Wars releases ever gotten it. I didn't feel like there would be an extended edition, but I do believe they'll include the deleted scenes on
and
the.
the
on
reason
disc.
why I'm saying
Yeah.
extended for these is because this is the one trilogy that's under Disney's house.
Yeah.
And I think it's
Well,
because
their big box set they're going to release is 27 discs.
yeah.
So there's got to be a lot,
Wow.
a
Yeah,
lot
there's
of
got to
content.
be a lot of content
yeah.
in there. Yeah.
Well, and even the original, how much were the originals? Were at least 2 discs on like Blu-ray and DVD because they had the movie and then special features.
Yeah.
But how many 9? What is that? 9 times 2? That's only 18.
Yeah, but we're
discs,
talking
so
about 3 discs
3
per
additional,
movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's got to be some extra content.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
And it's supposedly only going to be $250.
that's not bad.
That's
That
not
ain't
bad,
bad at
yeah.
all.
That's not bad
Yeah.
for 9
20
films.
for 27 discs. Yeah.
How much was Avengers?
It's 500
yeah.
for 23 movies though.
Yeah.
on.
But it
Yeah.
also has it has
It has
unreleased
extra stuff, yeah.
extra like footage and stuff too. So
Yeah.
But I think their content will be there to suffice. At the end of the day, Rise of Skywalker met my expectations as far as being a completed film
Yeah.
for the saga. Seeing it a second time,
Yeah.
I'm sticking with my 3 out of 4.
Yeah.
3 out of 4 for me.
Well, I know we're on a time crunch,
You
but I
know.
want to ask one more question about Star Wars. I posted earlier on Instagram the screenshot of Rotten Tomatoes. And we did a side-by-side a couple weeks ago or whatever between this and The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
But like what do you think about this stark difference between audience and critic scores
I mean,
for both of these movies?
I think it's funny because this is
doesn't
exactly
surprise
It's
me.
the
this is what
opposite.
this is
Yeah.
exactly what we've talked about before and how I think critics are getting it wrong when they want to side with whatever preconceived notion they have for
Mhm.
what a film franchise should stand for, and they are completely out of touch with what the fans want and without with the understanding what
I mean,
the
do you
actual
think it was
Star Wars
because
films are for.
this movie wasn't woke enough, or do you think it was because
I think that's exactly
some of the? I mean, I definitely think based on what Twitter's been saying, a lot of the female characters were kind of put to the side.
well, just one really.
Yeah, but, well, yeah,
And
I
I
mean,
think-
but
I think
even the mention
honestly-
of another is kind of brushed off. I mean,
Yeah,
General Holdo or whatever her name is.
Well, she
like that was
died,
some-
so-
I know she died, but you know she's
Well,
a
but
hero.
but it's
and
funny
in this
because
movie
I
they're
think
just like, no, she was stupid. You probably shouldn't try that again.
but the thing,
I mean, he says, "I was 1 in a million. We shouldn't do that."
But I think honestly, that's ultimately, I think that's directly pointed at her maneuver.
yeah,
and
yeah,
what
yeah.
she
No, I'm
used.
just
But
saying.
I know, but it's
yeah,
like
the only mention
again,
of her name is a negative.
I think
one.
that's more of a slight against Ryan Johnson than Holdo.
Yeah.
Because it could have been a guy general that did the same thing, and they would still say that's 1 in a million.
Yeah,
It was
maybe.
basically J.J. Abrams or the writer's way of saying.
But the way people on Twitter are taking it is
Oh, I
that
know.
it's
Well, they're
it's
making it
Well,
that
yeah,
way.
that's what I'm
exactly.
saying.
They're making
it. But do you think critics are taking any of that into
Partially.
consideration?
I think
in their
they
score.
are in terms of the Kelly Marie Tran.
Yes.
Okay.
I think they are because of all the backlash that came at her after The Last Jedi and
Mhm.
forcing her off social media, which we were talking about this before
Yeah.
the show about how that was wrong and that
Oh, yeah.
the bullying that took place there should not have
Yeah.
happened.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think it's in the opposite way, it's not like to reward,
I think
a
it's
bad idea,
I think
and
it's
I'm
two
sorry. I
extremes
think-
reacting at each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the critics are going so low because they're
So low?
yes, so low. they're rating it even lower than I think they normally would because they're ticked at the fact.
Sorry.
That's right.
It was there.
It was
I had
there.
to push it.
But I think they're rating it even a little bit lower than they normally would because they're reacting to the fact that fans are so excited over
Yes.
this one as opposed
Yes.
to
Yeah.
and I feel like fans are giving it even more than it deserves because they're just happy that it's not Last Jedi.
So
I
you're
think
saying critic scores are biased?
Oh yeah.
Really?
And we've mentioned
Really?
it on here. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we were one of the ones that came out and said we're glad that we're actually still kind of in the fandom part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That we're still fans of Star Wars enough to see beyond just being stingy critics. Because I think there
Not
are a
all
lot of times,
critics, but
not all,
you
but
know.
I
Yeah.
think there are times where we ourselves align ourselves with the critics majority of the time.
I think
And-
it's fresh now.
Oh, you do?
I
Is
think
it?
it is.
did it go back up a little
I
bit? Because
thought
it
it
was
did.
47 for a while.
Wow. Then, which is funny because, yeah, if you look at Last Jedi, it's like it's below
That's the
50.
lowest. 47 is like the lowest of any Star Wars movie. You're telling me that movie was worse than Phantom Menace or Attack of the Clones?
There's
no,
no way.
Critics were just being
Exactly.
salty.
That's now. Granted, you could give the critics.
It's at 54%. It's still rotten.
It's so
Okay.
rotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's not.
I thought
47.
somebody said it went up to that it finally went up to fresh.
Now see
But the audience score has come down a little
It's
bit.
86 now, which
Yeah.
I think is.
I
it's
think that's
right
about
on
right.
par.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's about right,
Yeah.
especially with all the criticisms we've even given it.
Yeah.
But I think too that I give the critics a benefit of the doubt in the sense that a lot of times it's like they, it's like we align ourselves with them a lot of the times.
We have.
And we typically do favor. I think when you're coming from an unbiased opinion and you're just watching a movie, it's like that's why I can agree with Dolemite as my name and a lot of
Yeah.
the critics that have liked it. Is it's like for the most part, I do find myself in line with them. But when it comes to something like this where there's a lot of tradition and a lot of I think that's why they praised Last Jedi was because it subverted their expectations.
it broke
Yeah.
tradition.
And they were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, finally, Star Wars is becoming something so much more than we thought it was." And I'm like, "No, that's
It's more than just a popcorn flick now.
right."
Yeah.
And it's
They
just,
free the horses.
and that's the thing
They
is,
win
it was
with
like
love.
it's completely undermining
Yeah.
why you go to see a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
And I think that was what made me mad. Was it's like this is not a fan, or this is not a movie.
That'd
for
be like
critics.
in Lord of the Rings when they all got to the gates of Mordor and they were just like, "Now lay down your weapons."
Yes.
It's
Right.
like- it's
Yeah.
like-
We'll defeat evil with love.
Yeah.
See how that turns out.
Right.
It's like, no, you already have an established story set. You don't just like all of a sudden throw caution to the wind and be
Yeah.
like, what'd be really cool is if Frodo and Sam just said, you know what? Let's
We're
not
gay."
throw the
Yeah. That's
That's what it would
true,
have to be.
too.
Well,
That's what it would
Ian,
have
I
to
remember
be.
Ian McKellen coming
Yeah.
out and saying
Yeah.
he would have done that, and I'm like, no, that's not the story.
I think he
That's
was
not the
being
story.
facetious though.
Well,
I
but
don't
yeah,
know.
he probably was. But if you want to do something, drastic, do it with the next trilogy.
Yes.
Don't do it with the Skywalker saga.
yeah.
I agree.
So-
I agree. But at the end of the day, we are happy with Rise of Skywalker.
Yes.
That we are.
Yes.
But I think our next topic, our unique weekly segment, is actually going to get into a little bit more of the weeds of you
Get
know.
Ooh.
Yeah. Why don't we, let's move on to our vices segment.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's right, guys. Vices. Are y'all
Give me
ready
that
for our
vice.
vices topic?
Yes.
So this week, what we want to talk about is kind of what we were already discussing, but what we mentioned at the beginning of the show. Does fandom
Does it?
alter your expectations? So let's have at it, guys. Did fandom alter our expectations for Rise of Skywalker?
I think, and as we mentioned, just with like the fans running Kelly Marie Tran off of Twitter, I think, especially when you're a part of a fandom and you get excited about the same thing as other people, and you see them online or in public getting excited over something you love, it tends to help build those expectations or lower them depending on what the movie is or what came before. And I think it can, especially when you get caught up in the moment. And some people are willing to accept that and take a step back and be like, okay, now let me take this with a more critical eye and get away from the fandom, whereas others are just like, no, it's all about, what fans think. So
Yeah.
I think it can, yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Sean?
Before the show, we talked about Rise of Skywalker. We talked about our score when we came out of the theater, and I think you're 3.5 out of 4 is what you gave it.
I
Or-
originally,
or did you
yes,
settle?
I would say after seeing it 3 times, I would say a 3 is a much more. I definitely gave it that 3.5 because I was
Right
just
out of
happy
it.
that
Right,
that
we were right out of the gate. We were happy. We had a satisfying end to something that we've grown up with our whole lives.
Yeah.
yes.
But so we let fandom kind of dictate our score a little bit because after seeing it 2 or 3
Yeah.
more times, we've kind of dropped down to a 3
Yeah.
because of some of those issues that you mentioned,
There
Brandon.
are
and
some things
pacing issues.
that it has as a film, it has problems with, and it's like, despite the fact that I still love it and I'm still going to watch it over and over again because
Yes.
it's Star Wars and it was a satisfying finish.
Yeah.
It's like I can't let the fact that I'm being biased as a fan change the fact that the movie technically wasn't as well made as it could have been.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of where I come down at. I mean, not just on Rise of Skywalker, but a lot of these films in general.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, for me, a lot of it comes down to the hype that's built up before a film's release. And truth be told, my expectations for Rise of Skywalker were really low because I, for one, was not looking to be impressed. And because of The Last Jedi, I truthfully heard by word of mouth and early critical reviews were kind of downplaying the success of this film and whether or not it was going to do everything else before it justice. So for me going into this film, and as well as, I mean, for instance, The Hobbit, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Lord of the Rings, but then going to see The Hobbit, I was kind of like, I don't know about this.
I still love
You
The
know,
Hobbit,
I
but
still-
I don't
Yeah.
think they're great movies.
Oh,
Right.
Compared,
They're-
compared to the Lord of the
exactly.
Rings,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah, they don't, but
No.
that's the weird thing. They're good
rushed.
movies.
Yeah.
But it's funny you say they're rushed, but there's 3 of them, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, do we actually need 3 of them, or was there too much content
I don't know.
that could have been
Every one of them feels rushed to me.
really?
Yeah, I just don't. I don't think he.
Well, he didn't. He
I
made
mean,
a
he
lot
did-
of it up on set.
That's
as
what I'm
he
saying.
went.
I don't
Yeah.
think it was very. I don't think it was. I don't
Rushed?
think he wrote it with enough time. I think he was because they had somebody else originally
Okay.
wanted to do
Guillermo
that. Right?
del Toro was
Yeah,
supposed to.
yeah, and
Yeah.
so he had to come in and just kind of roll with it.
Well, they
and a
didn't
lot
even
of it
have
feels
set designs like with.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
why
just
there's
saying-
so much more CGI in this one
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
Hobbits
Yeah.
than
A
So,
lot of it
so
just
rushed
feels-
from a pre-production standpoint.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what
Almost from
I was getting
not
at.
in
Sorry.
terms of the film itself or the pacing, but necessarily it didn't seem like it was well thought out or well contrived.
Yes.
or
Right.
conceived.
Yeah,
Yes.
I
And-
think
and-
that's what he was going for.
That's
yeah.
what I
Well,
was
and,
going
and
for.
honestly, I agree. But to me, honestly, I almost felt like going into those movies, that's what I was going to get.
Yeah.
In a sense, I think other than the second film in the trilogy, Desolation of Smaug, I thought that I felt like the story itself was kind of exactly what I expected. And there
Well,
were
the story was definitely what I expected, but I still thought he would.
well, but I just didn't think. I was like, how are you going to come back from Lord of the Rings, which to me is an untouchable masterpiece, all 3 of those films,
Agreed.
and be able to create or bring us back to a world and make me feel the same way. I just felt like once I had already been on that kind of level with Lord of the Rings and seen that world
Yeah.
fleshed out,
Well, I
didn't think
yeah.
I could return to it in a different way and feel like I was going to feel the same kind of magic.
I
and
agree.
I'm not saying that that's a failure on his
No,
part.
no.
I just felt like it was one of those things where
He did it so well the first time. I
Right.
mean, it's like you
I
can't.
just,
Yeah.
I never, knowing the story of The Hobbit, I never expected anything of the same caliber as Lord of the Rings.
Which
going
again,
in.
it's
it
not
kinda-
as of a compelling story as Lord of the Rings.
well, exactly, and with knowing what comes
Well, it
after
was
the
written
Hobbit,
as
it's like
more
how
of a-
do you have the
Yeah.
danger
Yeah.
and the same? Like to me, it's one of those where it's the curse of the prequel
Mhm.
before after the main story.
To be fair, Jackson
And-
wanted to make The Hobbit first, but they wouldn't let him make both The Hobbit and,
Lord of the Rings.
They were like, "Well, you get so."
And then what?
when
yeah.
when Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
became successful, they were like, "Okay, well, here you
Yeah.
should make The Hobbit now."
Right.
Yeah.
But again, that's just an instance of where for me fandom it was kind of the opposite where I had seen something so well that I wasn't really expected to have my expectations reached.
Yeah.
But then again, I do feel like for the most part it's like every time I go into any kind of franchise film,
Oh yeah.
the hype is always there if you're a fan of it.
Yep.
And it's always going to be,
Yeah.
have a high bar. But then again, there's also instances where it's like sometimes it's not even a franchise film. It's like a Quentin Tarantino film.
Oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
for each one of those, I get hyped about it because
Well,
I
look at-
follow him. I like his work, and I think he's going to do a great job each time.
I have a great example. You being a fan of M. Night Shyamalan,
Yes.
your reaction right after The Village and before going to see Lady in the Water, you definitely had a disappointment with that.
A perfect example. And the fact that it's like I went in to Lady in the Water thinking, and the thing is the trailers
Oh,
sold
no,
it
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly the way it
The
was
trailers were
supposed to.
great. Yeah.
But yet at the same time, I was completely disappointed.
And I still love that movie. Not
Yeah.
because it was good. I just love that
See,
movie.
For me, Transformers. I grew up with those. I grew up with the toys. If I still had the toys, I would be rich right now
Yeah.
because I had all of the Generation 1s. Like I had them all, and my parents gave them to a daycare. So, story of my life. But that is a film that when that was announced that they were making a Transformers movie,
yes.
live action with real, I thought to myself, to see Optimus Prime on screen, and the scene in the alley at the beginning of the movie when he transforms in front of Sam for the first time, like my heart skipped a beat. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it literally took my breath away. And Neil will tell you, because I think he might have been with me, but I saw that movie. I don't even know how many times I saw that in theaters.
Just because of
Just
a moment.
I know I saw
oh
it
my
at least.
God,
I know I saw it at least
it
3.
was the most awesome movie I had ever seen. Like, because
of
of my childhood, like
yes.
it was making it for me.
Yeah.
But then after it comes out on DVD and you kind of
The
watch it
luster
over,
wears
yeah,
off.
you kind of lose some of that and you start to see the technical aspect of it. And you're like, yeah, it's a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
But Jesus, Michael Bay, man, he just
Horrible writing.
He ruined it.
Terrible.
Yeah, there's so
Yeah.
many holes in it, and there's so much.
Honestly, and mine was much more gratifying, but that's how I felt going in to see the live act, like Sam Raimi's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, the
Yes.
Spider-Man animated series in the 90s was like that, and X-Men, those were my shows.
Oh yeah.
I watched those
Yeah.
over and over. So when Spider-Man came out in live action, and I saw it in live action, not a cartoon, it blew me. And luckily, that movie's actually
Yeah.
good. So I
Well,
got
even
to-
X-Men.
yeah.
Even the first
Even
X-Men
the first
movie
X-Men
was
was
good.
good.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So that
actually,
blew my
that's
mind. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
actually a perfect point too, because that was a film that I wasn't expecting what it was
Mhm.
going in, and I
Mhm.
wasn't even a huge fan of like
Spider-Man.
comic book
Yeah.
films or Spider-Man. But to see a live action comic book film like that for the first
Done
time,
right.
it
Yeah.
done well, and it was weird because it was kind of my first foray into like not going to the theater to see a child film,
Yeah.
Mhm.
like Pokemon or some cartoon. But it was like I went to the theater to see kind of my first adult film, which was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And that was like the film that I walked out of, and that was when I transitioned my love for video games and wanting to make those into my love for wanting to make movies.
Mhm.
And so walking out of Spider-Man, it was like it set the bar for me
Yeah.
and became something that kind of created
It
a
was
fandom.
your King Kong.
Yeah, it was my
Yeah.
King Kong. It really was.
Because that
It-
was the movie that Peter
Peter
inspired Peter
Jackson.
Jackson
Yeah.
wanted to make movies.
And
yeah.
so
Yeah.
because of that movie right there, it's like it created a fan in me of movies in general.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's like that kind of set the bar of what I would expect going to the movie theater, trying to see, something that would change my perspective. And that's where I realized that how impactful movies could be.
Yeah.
But I would absolutely agree that it can be a vice
Oh yeah.
that you let your fandom
Yeah.
get in the way of what you're
I
expecting.
mean, it's like
and
in next. Well, no, it's this year. Ghostbusters.
Oh,
is coming out. And it's like I saw the full trailer for that and got like every
Caters to
hair
your-
on my
yes.
body stood up.
A
Like,
tear,
and it was
a
ju-
tear
oh,
came down.
I'm there with you. And it's like if they make it half as good as the trailer, if it is a good film, like that's going to be one of those that I'm going into with
yes.
really high expectations after the last one because I'm like, you can't get any worse than that.
Well, and I think, again,
And-
I think that's the beauty of them catering to not only the
The
fans,
fans, yes.
but also I think catering to what they themselves are like. Okay, because of how the last one was and how it was received, we have to depend on these people to bring this franchise back, and this is the love we're going to show.
Yeah.
And I think from that, it's like in a way, you can almost say that Hollywood, and especially if you look at the franchise films, I mean, that was part of some of the history I was looking at from this past decade, where we've had hugely amounts more of franchise films in the last decade. In the last year alone, we had almost 52 films released that were somehow connected to a previous film. So a lot of that it's like movies themselves. We've had this conversation before loosely about how Hollywood themselves have tried to connect to the audience in that way by tugging at their heartstrings and getting them to attach themselves to a film because of something they've seen before.
Yep.
And so, no doubt, they expect our expectations to be set by fandom.
Oh, yeah,
no doubt.
yeah. Nostalgia has played a huge role in filmmaking this past decade, definitely.
And no doubt, it's going to continue.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So the best thing is just, as much as your fandom may exploit those expectations, just bring them down a little bit
Yeah.
and just go in and just take the film for what it is
Yeah,
and view it based off that. And if you got to see a film a few times, like we did with Rise of Skywalker, so it kind of brings it back down
level
to
your
level,
head out, yeah.
levels your
Yeah.
head, then do that,
Yep. I'm looking forward to Top Gun, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yes.
Another huge one.
There's so many.
See, that was
so
one of the
many.
ones I was just looking at because I was trying to see Tony Scott's. I think he's dead, and the director that directed the first movie. I'll look that up again, but I think it just said he was dead. So if he's
Oh.
not dead, I'm sorry, might have had the wrong Tony Scott. But I'm like, he's not directing the new
I
one.
think you mean Tony Stark.
He's not directing the new one, but but
Too soon.
yeah. But Jerry Bruckheimer's still producing the new one,
Yes.
just like he
Yeah.
produced the last one. So I'm hoping that's another one that's going to cater to. And if you watch the trailer, I'm
Oh, it
pretty sure
does.
Miles Teller is going to be Goose's son. I'm calling it right now.
All right.
I'm pretty sure that's who he's going to be.
Well, I can just tell you right now. I'm
and
just looking
I
forward
think he's
to
going to
it.
be going to Maverick's flight school, and he's not
Yep.
going to trust him because he got his dad killed
Yeah.
doing a maneuver.
All I know is
and-
Miles Teller's just a good actor
Yeah,
anyway. and
yeah.
I'm
Well, he
happy
even
to
looks
see
like
him.
he looks
Yeah.
like
Val Kilmer.
No,
No,
Goose was
that was
What's his name?
ER. God dang it.
George Clooney. No. I'll look it up real quick. 'cause
Edward.
yes.
Anthony, or what's his name?
Oh my gosh.
Anthony Edward? No.
No.
What's his name?
Man, we're just all over the
I'm
place.
killing. I'm
Man.
I
destroying
know
it.
what you're talking about. You're destroying it.
Edward
Fans-
Furlong. No.
I mean, I'm telling you, you're pissing a lot
What's
of
his
fans
name?
off right now. You're not really a fan of Top
But he's
Gun.
going to be
Anthony Edwards.
Anthony Edwards.
Yes.
I was right. I
Yes.
said it.
Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, because he looks like him with the mustache.
Yeah.
He looks just like Goose from the first movie. So
Well, when he was younger, not now that because Anthony Edwards is terrible looking now.
no, I'm just saying he
Yeah.
looks like Goose in the first movie.
Yeah,
That's
he
what I
does.
just said.
I
Yeah.
know.
So I think he's.
I was
supposed to
agreeing
be-
with you.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I have no
Yeah.
doubt it's going to be good.
But we're,
It's-
we're tampering our expectations.
Yes,
We're lowering
because I'm a
them
fan.
because just
It's
because
one of the
we're a
greatest
fan.
movies ever made. It's Top Gun,
All right,
and it's gonna have a volleyball scene with the guys'
oh,
shirts
it'll
off.
have to.
It's going to.
It's going to.
Yeah.
And only
That scene came so close to making me gay. I'm not kidding. That is a fantastic scene in the movie.
Well,
Just saying.
I'll just tell you this right now. I think that they need to have another "Take My Breath Away," and it better
Take
be.
my breath
It's gonna be Jennifer
away.
Connelly
I want
this
it.
time.
Yeah.
Well, it will be, but I want like
Which
Lady
I
Gaga.
like.
Because the lady's dead. I think.
no, she's still. She's
Are
just,
you sure?
I'm pretty sure she's alive. She's just.
Everybody's dead.
What?
Everybody. I
It
know
doesn't
the guy.
matter.
I know the guy
I'm
that
not
played
trying to be
Viper. He's
mean,
dead.
But I'm pretty sure they wanted a romantic interest that was still good looking like Jennifer because she's in terrible shape.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, she was
I don't think
pretty in the
she's-
last.
I don't
movie,
think
I'm gonna
she-
be
yeah.
honest with you.
I don't think she's dead, but I know
She had
is.
dentures.
Time's not been kind to her.
She had dentures in the first movie.
All I know
yeah,
is
she's still alive.
Is she really?
Yeah, let me
What's
look
her name?
up Kelly McGillis.
McGillis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want Lady Gaga to do the.
You
the
don't wanna see her
soundtrack.
now.
I want her to do the
She
song.
looks
for
dead.
it.
Who? Lady
Lady
Gaga?
I want her to do. The
You
Yeah.
want her to do "Take My
Oh,
Breath
yeah.
Away"?
Song. No. Just another romance song.
Oh, okay.
I want her to
gotcha.
come up with a rom-com ballad
gotcha,
or
I
something.
gotcha.
Or a
Now,
romance
just
ballad.
know that Kelly McGillis is around the same age as Tom Cruise and
Yeah.
Jen,
Yep.
yeah. and-
Tom Cruise doesn't age.
No, he doesn't.
I mean,
No.
God, it's that Scientology keeping him alive. Like
It's
he
so
looks
true.
like he's been preserved
I
in
mean,
ice.
he
I
probably
mean,
has.
Oh,
she
God.
could not star. She could not star.
Oh
don't-
no,
don't.
she
I'm not
can't
trying to
do
be.
it.
No, I mean I'm not trying to be mean, but
she can't fly.
she
You
could
gotta
not
show-
star.
you gotta
No.
she can't fly.
she can't fly.
Well,
She's-
no, because
they're not gonna let her in a
oh,
cockpit.
she kind of looks like Kathy Bates in.
Oh, but that's not a good thing.
I know, but she looks like
Misery?
Kathy Bates.
I
In,
mean,
no,
but,
and
I mean,
Russell.
for
What's the one we just went and saw?
Oh,
Why did I say
Richard
Russell?
Jewell?
Richard Jewell.
Richard Jewell.
Russell.
I'm not going to sit here and make fun of the fact that she's aged, and a lot of people when they age, that's how
Badly.
they tend to look. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I could say a lot of
She
women.
just looks a lot older than
It-
a lot of others.
It's
Yeah.
just the fact that she
Just saying.
aged more naturally, whereas Tom Cruise made sure that he still does the fitness thing and makes sure the Scientology tells him how to live his life. You
Yeah.
know, I mean,
yeah, no medications. That's what he would tell you.
he she
if you disown your
no
children,
plastic
that's what
surgery,
you'll
no
look
none
like.
of it. So
You'll live longer.
Oh my
So.
gosh. All right, moving on. Our final topic of the night is email.
Email.
man.
That's right, guys. If you have
I don't
any,
think we've had any
we-
for
We did get one.
a
We
long
got
time.
one.
No, we have one now.
It's the first one of the year.
It's our
I'm talking
first
about how
email.
long it's been
Oh
since
my
we've had one.
gosh.
It's been a year.
Almost. Almost.
That's right. We've got an email, and we're going to get to it in just a sec because email us right here, bottom of the screen,
Yeah.
rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all want to say that again?
rmpodcast@redmoonproductions.com.
Yeah, that's
Is that
it.
a question?
Sean.
I
What
think
about
we
you,
got
Keith?
it. But no, I want
Yeah,
to
you
know
wanna
what this
say it?
email
You
is.
say it.
from
Real
Neil.
quick, this email is from Neil Singleton. He wrote us in, guys, and he just wants to know what's going on with Red Moon this year in 2020. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but basically Neil wants the lowdown
he
on
wants to
what
know-
we're doing.
Yeah, future.
What are our
future things.
projects?
We're
Is the
gonna have-
website coming? Hashtag
And
one
one
day.
day.
I mean, Sean, I believe you posted an Instagram thing so letting people know that 2020 is going to be an interesting year for
It's
us.
gonna be
and,
fun. Yeah, we got some stuff in
yeah,
the works.
I
I mean,
mean-
that's all we can really say. It's
Well, and I'm just going to drop this bomb because I know you
Go
all
ahead,
weren't
drop it.
prepared.
Drop it.
That's not really a big bomb. All I'm going to say is there will be another chance on a future podcast very soon where we will be announcing certain developments.
Okay.
And we'll be announcing certain new things coming here on the podcast and with Red Moon. So that's just a little nibble. I don't want to give too much away. I just wanted to throw that out there that we are going to devote.
I'm sure Neil is not at all satisfied with that answer.
He's probably not.
And I'll go ahead and say, I don't think Keith and I even know what the hell you're talking about.
They don't. You don't. That's what I love is I
And I
love
don't like
keeping
that.
you all in the dark.
See, that's not cool. We work here.
But see, and that's the thing. We have such a small audience.
You got to make something up.
that
is
I got to
what it-
keep everybody in
Yeah.
the dark
Yeah.
so that everybody can kind of get a little, antsy and trying to figure out what's next.
Here's the thing. We plan on doing things in 2020. We just don't know what they are.
You all don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that's where I come in. I'm the ringleader.
That means we're probably not going to like it. If you're keeping it from us, then it must be something we don't like.
Trust me, guys.
I like everything.
Oh,
You
that- well,
all
that's true.
will like it. And so will everybody else. When they see us announce in the near future,
Yeah.
very near future,
Okay.
more plans. It's
Okay.
going to be announced right here on the podcast.
Right
Don't
here.
worry.
Live.
Next week.
Live.
Next week.
Not next week. Remember, I never tie myself down to
Yeah.
dates.
I love how my wife gets on here and starts watching when there's like 3 minutes left in the show.
Well,
She just started watching.
she's a real fan.
Yes, she is. Fandom. Don't let it lower your expectations.
We don't hear because we don't have any.
Well,
All right.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, guys. Until next time, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
and
Keith Cheatham.
until next time, we
We'll
will see you at
the yeah.
No,
I
not
wanted,
gonna
I
get it
wanted
this
to see
year.
what happened. I wanted to see.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.